And I had a dream on November 4th. I saw where they announced, and I saw what looked like the face of what we would call Joe Biden. And the voice of the devil spoke. In fact, his face changed. Remember, I said, I don't know what's going on with his face, but it wasn't him. And listen, something's happening. But the dream on November 4th, the face morphed into the face of the devil. The devil spoke out, and when he spoke, I couldn't move. And Brenda had gotten up earlier that morning to go and pray. And she came into the room because I heard her. I couldn't move because of this dream, and I knew it was from God. And I said, Brenda, note the time. What time is it? She said, why? I said, Brenda, just what time is it? She said, it's 4:45. And I believe that God is speaking that 45 is going to get his term. I really, really believe that. And this that the enemy is doing to portray this show and this game, he's going to get exposed, and he is being exposed. But aside from all of that, realize what God is doing. I'm here to tell you what God is doing. I'm here to tell you what God has said so that you can understand that no matter how crazy it may be out there, that the Lord's got a different plan. And what I love about it is when God tells us ahead of time. I've had people, I don't believe in prophets. I don't believe in prophecy. Well, then we are really good at making stuff up then, because we're not the only ministry. There's others that are having very, very accurate, ahead of time, prophetic forthtelling.
That's right. That
is not by our own might or power, but it's by the Spirit of God. Now let's talk about this. God's bringing us out to bring us in. Now, I want to switch gears, and I want to bring in our panel guys down there, Anthony, Matthew, and Terry, because they've done a lot of research on prophecies, and let's go ahead and welcome them tonight as well. Those of you on the phone, you can't see them, but why don't you go ahead and give people a shout out real quick, all three of you. Well, somebody needs to say something.
Well, we can come
Is
back
there no
to
audio?
Them. I don't think we have an audio.
We don't have
guys.
an audio, so let us know if we have an audio. We don't have an audio for those of you on the phone.
Let them fix your audio. We'll come back to you.
So as soon as we have it.
Okay.
But I want to look at the first prophecy of what we're going to talk about here. And this is so important because it's a prophecy that God talked about divine reversals and swift changes that would begin to take place. And I want to look at this one. This one was from October 17th. Let me know on the screen when you have them here. So this prophecy is very interesting from October 17th because it's going to kind of go into when we talk here about the Supreme Court. How many are familiar with two cases right now before the Supreme Court?
Yes.
That is absolutely imperative that we pray. They are huge potential cases for this nation. And Anthony and Terry will bring us in on what this is. But look at October 17th. This is 2021, so if they can put that up for people, I would really appreciate it. Here's what God said. For I've declared to you, says the Lord, that this is a new era that demands a new season. So watch very closely. There shall be removals. All right, stop right there. This is 2021. How many removals have there been that we've seen across the earth?
Yes.
Has there not been a lot?
Audio back, Pastor,
okay.
In case you wanted to pause for
All right.
that.
So Anthony, Matthew, Terry, why don't you guys go ahead and give a shout out real quick?
Well, we're glad to be here, first of all. And, you know, I really believe the research that we've put together, guys, really corresponds perfectly. It's very parallel to the prophetic words that we've seen out of this house.
Right.
And I know Pastor's got a lot on his mind tonight, but, you know, I know you guys have some stuff you want to share too. So, like Pastor said, give a shout out to the audience too.
Well, just a quick shout out to those who are listening via telephone, conference phone, and those who are watching online. You know, we just love this show and love to be able to convey the heart of the Lord, not just in a sense of, hey, this is going to happen in like a predictive sense, because, you know, prophecy is, you know, by nature predictive, but there's also a part where God reveals his redemptive plan. And, you know, we are so encouraged by all of the things that we've done through the research to just to see what God is doing in the midst of what would seem like it's gloom and doom and whatever is being narrated, through the lying mainstream media. But, you know, we have the best news source, and that's the Spirit of God.
Right.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right. And I'm just excited to be here too. I love prophetic pulses just because it gives people hope and it reminds us of all the things that God is doing and all the great things that he has planned for us. And I just think that we continually need that reminder of, like, look at what God is doing. Don't focus on all the things that are going on in the world and what they're saying on this side and what they're saying on that side. What is God saying? And then let's focus on that. And so that's why I love prophetic pulses. It just brings us back to that.
Awesome, guys.
I agree.
That's so
All right,
good.
well, let's
So
look at the
good.
first one, and then you guys can pipe in and let us know some of the things that are happening. But it says October 17th, there shall be, of 2021, there shall be removals and there will be reversals.
Yes.
And there is a great reform. Stop right there. Most people who say, well, it's taking so long, don't understand the spirit of reform. To reform something, you have the Jeremiah 1:10 ratio pattern. And you know what that is? God set a prophet over the nation to bring about a reform. And it was to uproot, tear down, destroy, and overthrow. Notice that was listed first. So reform always will tear down things. It will always uproot, destroy. It will always overthrow. But then ultimately, it's to reform. Then the verse goes on to build and to plant. And so right now, we are in the season of uprooting, tearing down, exposing, all of that. So God's saying, we're in a great reform. Give it time. I'm reshaping. And how many ever took pottery class? You had to take it, you know, at the pottery wheel, you had to take some clump of clay, take it off, then you'd throw it back on there, rework it. Okay, that's what God's doing. And so we just need to let his hands continue to mold and shape the picture. God says, I'm allowing it so that it can be brought to a place that my hand can reshape. Notice that right there, reform, remove, reverse. But watch this, reset. Notice there's God's reset. Now he's going to tell us, and pay attention to the next part of this prophecy, because this is connected to something that is potentially happening in the Supreme Court. There shall be a resetting concerning the politics of this nation. There shall be a resetting concerning the laws. There's going to be a resetting concerning the politics of this nation. And there's going to be a resetting concerning the laws. So there's a resetting concerning the laws and a resetting concerning the politics. And there happens to be two cases right now before the Supreme Court that have to do with the resetting of our politics and the resetting of our laws. You sure look good on camera, Anthony. Okay, let's do this.
There it is.
Oh,
There it is. Okay.
There it is.
Okay. So if you've noticed, the four Brunson brothers, what do they have in their hands? Trumpets. Okay. I was a former trumpet player myself, so I'm actually I'm enjoying this picture, but this is not about me. Going back to the prophecy and how this is prophetic about swift changes, there's a prophecy from April 2nd of 2021, which says, "But there shall be another trumpet that shall be set to the mouths of the host, and it shall be the trumpet that says, justice." Now,
it's before the justices of the Supreme Court.
And it's before the justices of the Supreme Court. Now, look what this is pointing to, though. It says, "And this will be a sign of the rescued children, the rescued ones that they thought they did not live, and there shall be a reconciliation, a reconciling, a restoring to the families. And as you see this, it will be a sign that I have not forgotten the children that I promised, and to the generation of the children that they will not have to live, and that which enslaves them, says the Lord." And I find it interesting that the Brunson brothers are the ones who are carrying this case up to the Supreme Court.
So that's beautiful, and I love the fact that they're playing trumpets. Now, I want to visit about the hour of swift and sudden changes. This is important. This is why you that are listening by telephone, you that are watching, you that are here tonight, get the word out about praying for the Supreme Court cases. Okay, it's extremely important that we do that. How many of you say, I'll definitely do that? I didn't hear you loud enough. Okay, thanks. And there's a prophecy, Anthony, maybe you can help me because you and Terry and Matt, you research these. Where is the prophecy that was about the Supreme Court that there would come something supreme. Where is that?
I believe that's actually from the November 27th prophecy on the very next page.
Is it on the next?
Yes,
Okay,
the very next page.
Okay. So I want to read you this. And God says, therefore, watch, for I am the God of the supreme. I am the righteous judge. And so I ask you a question. Men are crying out and saying, repent, America. But my question to you, says the Lord, the righteous judge, shall I deliver this nation by many or by a few? Can I tell you it's already happening by the hands of a few that is turning this country around for your good. And you will see it, and it shall be in swift changes, sudden changes. And it shall be in the signs, watch this, from inches to feet. From drought to abundance of rain. This prophecy is already happening. They just got 7 feet of snow out in the western part of the United States. 2 feet of snow just a few hours from Omaha right now. There's even saying historic. This is crazy. Also, in the drought-ridden places of the United States, they're having abundance of rain. All happening. Notice when it's in conjunction to the Supreme Court, God being the supreme judge, now the signs are confirming it. This is why we really need to pray. And then God says, and where there has been stillness, there will be waters to flood. These will be the signs to reveal what I'm doing in this time, says the living God. Now let's go back and look at part of the prophecy before this. So it's the same prophecy, but let's look at a couple things in the same November 27th prophecy. God says, do you hear the sound at the beginning, so if they can put it up, November 27th, 2022. Do you hear the sound of swift change? Do you hear the sound of sudden change? Now, I'm just going to kind of read on the red so that, the rest of it's there, and they'll have these prophecies out on our prophetic perspective page. This will also be out on One Voice TV in the archive on our network, so you can see it in its entirety. I'm just highlighting, for the sake of time, so we can get as much content to you, what's in red. For I'm going to raise up something, and I'll bring signs in the days, for the signs shall be, listen very closely, there shall be change in your elements. Then it goes on and says, it is a sign. When you begin to see, God says, record numbers. It shall be measured not in inches, but it shall be measured in feet of snow. How many of you notice how that is the headlines? I've never seen so many headlines. How many of you would say that is a sign coming to pass?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And it's coming quickly. And God says, it is the sound. Now watch this. When you see the size of what shall come by inches and feet, when you see the abundance of rain, and there shall be a strange thing that shall disrupt communications. You know what that was? It happened in the same day they announced, Anthony, is this correct? When they announced about the feet of snow and all of this, that Elon what is his name? Musk. Who is that Musk man? Who's that Musk man? But anyway, he disrupted communications by Twitter drop that same day. So there's stuff that's happening. And God says, you'll see these changes affect Brazil, Bolivia, Peru. We're going to talk about Peru. Anthony, get ready for that one, and Matt. It shall affect Mexico, United States, you're on my list, Canada, Australia. And watch what I do. Now, he's telling us what's going to happen in Ukraine. Watch what I do to shift Ukraine and bring things to a what? Ooh, get ready. This is the hour of swift change, says the Spirit of God. So, we never had God put in our mouths whether there would be a red wave. I know that many were saying red wave, and here's the thing, give those that maybe said it credit. How do we really know? Most people don't even know what a true prophet is, let alone what a wrong one is. So, right. And I want to say...
And we throw that around so loose.
We throw that around.
Yeah.
And I want to just really, for anyone, whether they were a prophetic person, a minister, a Christian, a non-Christian, just someone on the news saying about red wave, red tsunami, give them a break. And I was being carried up into a vision, and I was taken over the earth, March 15th, 2:30 in the morning of 2020. How many of you have heard me say this? This is very important. And so as I was taken over the earth, I literally was looking at the earth, and a camera lens was zooming into the earth, and I literally could see the United States of America. And then I heard on the side of me, and I don't know if it was the Lord, but I heard the most authoritative voice. And it said very clearly, divine reversal, divine reset. And he said, this is the beginning of global freedom. And I'm thinking, golly, it doesn't look like global freedom. It looks like a mess. Okay, that's why don't ignore what we're saying about the Supreme Court. These two things. You're never going to hear it from the lamestream news. They don't want you to know about it. Okay? They'd even try to convince you probably that it ain't even happening, but it is. It's actually documented. They are scheduled to hear it. But look at what it says. Matthew 23:37. And I'd love it if they put it up for all the people. It says, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, that does what to the prophets? Kills and stones the prophets, and them which are sent to you. So they're there for your benefit. How often, so this is more than once, Jesus is speaking. How many times would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathered her chickens under her wings? But what was the problem? The people would not. So rather than listen to what God was saying through the prophets, they took him out, rejected him, persecuted him, called him false. And so Jesus said, as a result, I couldn't do what I had prophesied through these people. I want this earth, just as God's prophesying, for him and for people that are suffering. And so this is the time we've got to really begin to shift how we do things and how we and what we come into agreement with.
I wanted to make just a very brief comment about and the fact that you talked about opinion.
Yeah.
We can't just let our opinion be on everything. We have to be so careful, and I think it's important to always stay back and hover and watch and listen to God. Not only listen to God in your own prayer time, but take in information, take in the truth of the Scripture. But you, Hank, made a really good point about, and it's just observance, that if God had his hand shifted to somebody else, why is it that the left works so, they come against some of the others that are standing and good candidates like DeSantis, but I have never seen people literally gnash like demons on one human being. We have never seen it in our lifetime. It's gone beyond just disagreeing. It's like we're going to do every possible thing we can come up with. And it's interesting to me. None of them have succeeded. None of them have gone anywhere. And so you made that point. We can get opinionated about personality. We can look at good things other candidates are doing, and we're thankful for that. But listen, when Jesus came on the scene, think about that. The devils started screaming. Literally saying, don't cast us out of the region. They gnash with their teeth. You always know when the anointing of God is on something, when the demons are manifesting. And so I'm going to tell you, we still see the demons manifesting against. And I just cannot get past that.
You got to go back to the story. On the night of 9/11, we came here as a church, we prayed. And I'll never forget it. We were lined up in a straight row. The church was a lot smaller then. And how many were here? You remember. And God said, we will go to war with Iraq and Afghanistan. He said this prophetically. And he said, it will not even be by my leading, which I thought was very interesting, because then all of a sudden we're going to war with Iraq and Afghanistan. And look at how much of a mess that's been. Yet God called it out in 9/11. He said, it won't be by my leading. But he said, I'll raise up out of New York someone who will bring this nation back as your president, who will be born and raised in New York, the place where the towers fell. Has that happened? Okay, it says Israel. Let's go down to the middle part of it where it says, do not be moved. So for the sake of time, if they can show that prophecy. Yeah, you're doing great. Do not be moved by natural dates, times, outcomes, for they will carry on and they will cry. They will create a scene, talking about different ones that are going to try to do something to this midterm. They will even dress it up, but wait, he's talking about like in 1 Kings 18. This is my time, says the Lord. And you have seen enough of what evil looks like. You've seen enough of what harshness feels like. Yet now you'll see my judgments, and you'll see my mercy, and I'll inject my goodness in a way that you've not seen before. Then it goes on in the last part. Do not judge the midday or the midterm as the final outcome of the midterms. It is my turn. It's my turning, says the Spirit of God. All right, let's go to the next one.
Praise
This
God.
one is even, I like this one. This one I think was the second service. And then we're going to read the red part again. For in the coming days and how long? Weeks. There will be things that will be undisputed. There will be things that will be disputed. And there will even be things that will be refuted. And yet some will say, here we go again. We're going backwards. This will never change. Others will hang their head in disappointment because they expected a different outcome. That happened. But listen to me. This is about my time. It's about my hand, says the Lord. Do not look to a day. Do not look to a midterm event. For if you do, you will not fully understand that there is a moment where it shall be as though what is happening. Do not let this fool you. For Israel thought the same thing in the middle of the sea. They said, the Egyptians are prevailing. We are but lost. Our freedom is but lost. And they looked to the left. They looked to the right of the walls. But they did not see that in the Spirit, my hand, my wind was blowing to consume that which the enemy did and was trying to do. And yet there was a great victory. And there is a victory, for I've declared that there is an unraveling that shall continue to take place. There will be reversals that will reset this earth again.
Praise
So
God.
this is important. So part of this, guys, if they can put up the panel down there, let's look at these protests. So the Lord prophesied years ago about not ignoring two P's. You know, the letter P's that would appear in our headlines. Do they have that prophecy, Anthony? You guys have that one? The two P's, do they have that one? Protests and power outages. Can they put that one up? The two P's, protests and power outages. What are you seeing? You're seeing protests and power outages, and I'm not sure, but it seemed like that prophecy was a few years ago, man. Like 2016 or something like that. Okay, do you have that one? If not, we need to keep moving for the sake of time. I don't want to keep everybody
That was
here.
a great prophecy.
Sorry for our technical difficulties. I'm not sure what's going on. But there are many prophecies also about the spirit of freedom that's breaking forth in the nation. Okay, can you go? Okay, is that one right there? Okay. This one is interesting about China. This was 2019. Pay attention, says the Spirit of God, for there will be two P's in my pronouncement of light. And in this revolution of light, this great awakening that I speak of, that the sound of the strike of the clock of midnight shall cause this new decade of distinction to begin to manifest and light to break forth, says the Spirit of God. Well, the only way to recognize light springing forth, it's got to be dark. And who would have thought we were met with this level of darkness? And there are two P's. One, watch as it manifests across the earth, power outages, and this shall cause men to fear. Why do you fear? God says, there shall be restoration of light. And when the power switch comes back on, pay attention to the places, for this shall be a unique sign to show that the awakening that I'm bringing is greater than the agenda of hell that has been against the people of this planet. Watch the second P that shall manifest. The Spirit of God says it shall be protests. And it shall be in places where my light, by way of my church, has been hidden away. It shall begin to manifest, these protests, in places where my church and my people have been persecuted. I speak of Asia. I speak of what? What are you seeing? Now watch what God says. I like the latter part in the red. I've caused the curtain of communism to fall in the days of Berlin and Russia, and I will cause now a bamboo curtain to fall. What are you seeing?
Yes.
Okay, and I will cause Asia, North Korea, and South Korea to be one, to manifest the demonstration of my church coming to the light, says the Spirit of God.
That's powerful.
Part of God's spiritual reset is letting His church go free.
Two P's.
Two P's.
Sounds like they were both in a pod.